Thank you for being here. My name is Murphy John, and I work for storX. We are basically a decentralized cloud storage platform. We are built on top of XDC, and we help users to provide a very secure, privacy-focused storage. So I know everybody is very busy, and thank you for being here. And I'll just run through the presentation really quick. Hope to have your attention. So this is the volume of data that's been generated for the past years. If you see with the advent, we have so much of data that's being generated worldwide. So if you see the advent of data that's being generated over the period of the time for the past 3 years is really very high. So right from 2020 to 2025, the rate at which the data is being generated is grown phenomenally. So we can see the curve that has gone really very high. This is because most of the smart devices that is being used, and also because the onset of COVID. So after COVID, people really started working from homes. They're creating a lot of data, and because of the mobile, Instagram and all, so the amount of data that is generated has really gone very high. Now this is the cloud storage market. If you want to have a look, the rate at which the market is growing is phenomenally high. And if we see the number of service providers but the number of service providers are really very less. So if you see the top 3 service providers, AWS, Azure and Google, they together control more than 70% of the market. So these guys actually are present in everybody's life in one way or the other. If you're dealing with data in any format, one way or the other, your data ends up in any of these 3 service providers. And what happens because of this 3 service providers ruling the entire market, they have a very high chance of almost like a monopolistic behavior. They can dictate terms to the users. They can put in terms which are not really user friendly. And because of this, what happens is users are generally at loss. Because when the market is dictated by 1 or 2 or 3 major service providers, it's really a very big loss for the customers. So what happens when you have some service providers like this controlling the market? There are certain risks which are there when we have certain service providers, because what happens is all these service providers are majorly controlling the market. That means you have major chunk of data which ends up into this service providers, and if there is any problem to this service providers, there's a large catastrophe that happens. You can lose data, you can have a lot of problems. You have something like a CrowdStrike attack which happened, something like Amazon site, if it goes down, it affects everybody's life. Like even they can create havoc in everybody's life because of such kind of failures. So why does this happen? So basically what happens is because there are only single service providers or very few service providers, we have a single point of failures. All the data is lying in a single location, and if there is some problem with this data or this service providers, the whole region goes down. So if you have heard cases where there were banks which has gone down, the airlines which have gone down, there's the airport functioning which is being disturbed because of one of the zones going down. And because what happens is, if we are storing all the data in one specific service provider, a few service providers, they can really run snooping, they can run censorship data, they can run a lot of analysis on your data. And because of this geopolitical situation which has been happening always, you always have a threat of your data, which is really very high risk of being analyzed by governments or third parties, creating problem for you, or it can create problems for anyone. And there is cost which keeps on increasing. So if you look at the service providers of the ISPs, AWS, Google Cloud, anybody, they lock you into such contracts where the rates keep on growing very high. So if you start with an X amount of money, by the end of 2 years, you'll find that your rates have gone really very high. We have cases and instances where the rates have almost doubled from where you've started with this kind of subscription. As I said earlier, because you're storing with so few service providers, there is a high risk that your data is being surveillance by either government or third parties. And this data is being sold, this data is being analyzed, you have the risk of this data being going with third parties. And this majorly happens because there are only 3 or 4 service providers which are actually controlling the data. So it's like Cloud Act, which is there in US. You have Patriotic Act in US, which can really, which can force the ISP to snoop into your data and give the results to the government. This is something that is really very not feasible, or it is not really very good for the customers at the end. Of course, there are issues like virus infection which happens. So if your data is infected at one single point of data, you have the, you can lose the whole data, and you'll never get access to such kind of data. So what should we do? So we should look at a service, we should look at the storage solution which can offer you a very high level of security against single point of failure. Basically what happens is the service providers still follow the same old pattern of storing your data in one single location. Whenever you're putting a data, by default you feel that the cloud provider is going to provide you security, is going to provide you redundancy, is going to provide you resiliency. But what happens is actually you're just storing your data in a single location, a single point. So any problem happens to that location, you will lose your entire data. There's no backup. And the moment you start going into getting some backup, or you get in some kind of resiliency, the cost increases so much that it will not be feasible for you or normal providers to just keep on providing this service. The second one is the data should have very high level of privacy. Basically, as I said, because there are only few service providers, this becomes a honeypot of information for either governments, hackers, or third-party companies who just run a lot of analysis, sell this data to third parties, and we already know the cases like Cambridge that happened a few years back, where users' data was taken up and sold. And even now, if you are in the US, or if you are in a US company, storage company, which is having a facility of hosting data outside, still the US government can get the data from you. There are specific acts which are mentioned that if the US government wants the data, they'll have to provide the data. You cannot say no for that. Also, we are looking at a solution which is cost effective, which means that you should not be locked into some long-term contracts which you end up paying a huge amount of money at the end of the, and you should have easy access to come out of the data. But these guys lock in such kind of contracts that even if you want to break in the contracts, you're paying a huge liability. And it should be easy to use, of course, because what happens is every time you end up bringing a new technology like the Web3 technology which was there, it was so difficult to use that people don't want to use it because they have something like wallet connection, then they need to do some kind of third-party access. It becomes really very difficult. And you should also have a solution which is scalable. That means if your data grows, you should be able to scale up your hosting solution as well. So what exactly is storX? Basically, storX is a decentralized cloud storage platform. So what we do is we have a group of nodes. It's a community-driven project basically of node operators. We have node operators which are spread worldwide. They come in and they provide storage to us, and then we resell the services. So we are basically Airbnb of hosting providers, or like Uber for hosting providers.
Data is the new oil. Every day, we save gigabytes of data. Photos, spreadsheets, videos, files you want to share, and files you don't want to share. But have you ever thought about whether your data was safe?
Your data is safe with us. It's encrypted and only you can access it. As long as there are no regulatory moves, only until the next hacker finds a vulnerability in the system.
The point is, your data was never safe. Should you stick with storage solutions that don't take your data seriously? Or switch to breakthrough solutions built on cutting-edge technology that is unhackable? Introducing storX, the world's leading blockchain-powered distributed cloud storage system for your personal data. Any data you upload on storX doesn't sit in one central location like traditional cloud storage. Heck, it doesn't even exist as a single file. Every piece of data you upload is first encrypted with a private key known only to you. Then it's broken into thousands of unrecognizable fragments, and multiple copies of each fragment are generated to ensure high redundancy. And finally, these fragments and their copies are stored across hundreds of independent storage nodes spread across the world. We or they can't ever peek into your data. To access your data, all you have to do is log into the platform. Your private key gets activated and your data is retrieved and assembled for easy access. StorX is as simple as cloud storage you're used to, but only miles ahead when it comes to security, privacy, and data ownership. We might have eliminated any room for your data to be stolen, censored, or shared with third parties. Oops, sorry cybercriminals and big tech. Ready to take back control of your data? Try storX today.
So having this decentralized kind of mechanism, we are able to offer you some very high level of security, privacy, and resiliency. So because of the whole architecture of encrypting the data, so what we do is at user's device itself, we lock the file, we encrypt it with user's own private key, which remains unique to every user. So that means that only the user's private key can open the file or see what is the content into it. Even we as a service provider cannot see what is the content to it. Second is because as soon as the encrypted file is stored, it comes to the storage platform, we break it up into small chunks of data and then we replicate those chunks and then we distribute it all over to the globe. So we have around 2,500 active community partners who are basically node operators who are spread worldwide. So what they do is they take this chunk of data and they store it in their location. Because of what happens is every location, storage location is holding multiple chunks from multiple documents rather than holding a single data which can be seen either by the node operators or by storage as a platform. So we're able to offer you a very high level of resiliency, privacy, encryption, and because this is decentralized, it's actually nobody can snoop into your data. So that's the primary guarantee that we offer you. Once you are on a platform, nobody can even log into your system or see the system. And in case if there is any failure, any of the storage node operators, any of the location, the system actually knows where exactly the same node or the same content is residing in some other location. So that's because we do replication after the fragmentation is done. And we are a 100% open source project. People can just log in and see what's the content. We have the source open at GitHub. We are very cost efficient, so we don't log any of the users with any of the contracts or long-term contracts, or we don't have any scalable billing system. So actually you, at the first day itself, you know what is the kind of amount that's going to be charged on an invoice. We are very fast and we are very environment friendly. We are very environment friendly in the sense we are built on top of XDC. That's one of the very low carbon emission and one of the lowest transaction fees. So we are able to offer a very high level of environment friendly solution. This is the dashboard of a user. It's very simple. You just have to log in. We take care of the entire symphony from background, the creation of private key, the locking of the private key. Everything is online. Everything is background, and user just has to log in with the username and the password with the social media actually. So we don't even store the username and the password. User can log in with their own social media account. We have one of the highest integrations of application. So currently we have around 55 applications which we have integrated. That means we work in Symphony with all this softwares where you can take backups of your data automatically. We are also coming up with three special integration: Google Workspace, Kubernetes, and WordPress. Basically, we can automate your Google Workspace backups. You can automate your Google Photos, Google Drive, Google Docs, and everything gets automatically stored in storage and gets secured. You don't have to worry about it. We have active collaboration with Kubernetes. You can also back up your Kubernetes workloads on us. With WordPress also we have the same thing. This is one of the interesting case studies that we had. This is one of the biggest SaaS service provider for IoT-based devices. For them, we were able to replace their AWS storage completely. So rather than going with any of the centralized storage providers, they were not very comfortable sharing certain critical data. So they have removed the centralized storage providers, something like AWS, and mapped the entire storage to us. Because of them deploying our solution, what we were able to offer them, we were able to offer them a very high level of resiliency. The data actually has, the desired consumption has gone up, and the rates, they were almost like 50% cheaper than any centralized service providers. And because of this being cheaper, they were able to offer very services to the end customer at cheaper rate. So this is basically a live project which is working on. This is what our ecosystem is. We have 117,000 users who are actively using our platform. We have around 2,500 node operators which are spread worldwide. We have 5 petabyte of storage which is already deployed. We have partnership with so many companies, Mobi, ITFA, XDC, MyDif, Gima, BingX, Bitru, and all these places. These are some of the places where the media has ranked us. And this is the report of last year DePIN landscape by IoT. We were rated as one of the best storage platform providers by them. We also have industry association like DePIN Hub, DePIN Union, Alchemy, and Magic Square. This is what our token is going on at rate. This was 2 days back. And that's it. So this is what it's all about. You can sign up to store your data securely, or you can also set up your masternode and start earning. That's it. Thank you.